Hi and welcome to my new series of tutorials which will hopefully help you get the most out of your Amiga. The aim is to cover every step needed to go from a Windows desktop to a fully functional drive set up and installed for use in a real Amiga. We will start by downloading all of the files needed for the opening sections of the series. First up is the latest version of WinUAE. Even if you're not interested in using emulation and just want to use real hardware, I would still recommend having it set up to use, as it makes life so much easier when it comes to transferring software from your PC to your real hardware. Next, we need to get the Kickstart ROMs and the Workbench disks. You can acquire these files from anywhere you choose, but for this video I'm using theoldcomputer.com. You will need to make a free account on the site to enable file downloads. Once you have made an account, log in and download the 5 Kickstart files as shown on screen. Make sure you get the correct files, as we'll be using them to get WHT load working in a later part of the series. When it comes to Workbench disks, there are a lot to choose from. For this tutorial, I'm using a target machine of an A1200 with fast RAM, so I'm going to stick with Workbench 3.0 this time. We need the actual Workbench disk to activate Classic Workbench, and I'm also going to get the install disk so we can partition drives on real hardware. With the target machine being an A1200 with added fast RAM, we will pick the most suitable version of Classic Workbench for those specs to base our Workbench install on. Proceed to the download section and get a copy of Classic Workbench Full to use in this tutorial. Create a directory named Kickstarts, move the Kickstart files into it. Extract the system hard disk image from the Classic Workbench archive and then WinUAE so we are ready to continue. Now that we have extracted the basic files required, we can begin to set up the emulator. As you can see, the configuration screen looks complicated at first, but everything is broken down into logical sections which we are going to go through one at a time. We will start by clicking on paths, which will most likely already have entries entered, but they are not pointing to where we want them to. Use this drop down box and select the WinUAE directory option and click Reset to Defaults, which will set all of the paths to where we extracted the files to. Then we need to alter the path to the Kickstart files, which will then read all of the files we have in there ready for use with the emulator. Next, click on the CPU tab and set the CPU to 68030. Tick Enable JIT and select the fastest possible CPU emulation speed. Moving to the ROM section next, select the A1200 version of Kickstart 3.1 from the drop down menu, and then in the RAM section use the slider to add 64MB of Zorro 3 fast RAM. Then go to the display section. For now we will just run WinUAE in windowed mode using a resolution of 720 by 568. In priorities, set all of the drop down boxes to normal and then untick all the options that appear after that. This will make it so the emulation will not pause when you press Alt Tab to untrap the mouse while the emulator is running. And finally, go to Configurations and type in a name for your new settings file and click on Save. Now we can perform a quick test to make sure everything is working so far. Go to Floppy Drives and click the icon to insert a disk into DF0 and select the Workbench ADF. We can adjust the drive speed to 800% using this slider. This will make loading a lot faster instead of emulating the speed of a real disk drive. Click Start and you should see the emulator boot into Workbench. Now that we have confirmed that everything is working as intended, check the Workbench ADF from DF0 and then go to the CD and Hard Drives tab. Click Add Hard File and then select the system.htf file that we extracted earlier. In the device name box we must enter DH0 or this step will fail. All other settings should be left with their default values. Click on Start and a welcome screen for Classic Workbench will appear. Press F12 to bring up the WinUAE menu and go to the floppy disk section and insert Workbench ADF into DF0 and click OK. Press return to begin the installation. I have sped up this part of the video, but it will take a few minutes to complete. To complete the installation, you will have to make some choices. All of these settings can easily be toggled on or off again later if required. I recommend using Rebel's optimized palette as well as anti-click, which will stop the Amiga's disk drives clicking when empty. Again, press F12 to bring up the menu and eject the Workbench disk, then click on Reset to boot in the classic Workbench. Now we need to do some more preparation work. We will start by loading Directory Opus. If you are not already familiar with this program, that will change quickly as it will feature heavily in all of my tutorial videos. I will try to explain the basics as I go for those who are new to the program. The active lister is always the one with the red title bar. As you can see, that is the left hand side lister just now. Click on the DH0 button in the drive bank to display its contents in the left lister. Then activate the right lister and click on DH0 again. To begin with, we'll copy the files needed for PFS3 all-in-one file system. Navigate to myfiles/largehd/128GB support/PFS3AIO and then highlight the handler file and copy it into the L directory in the left lister. Go back up one level, then enter PFS3/tools. Copy set fn size and PFS format into our C directory. Then go back up 2 levels and enter the Chris Tony SCSI directory. Copy the A1200 and A4000 IDA files into the devs directory. If you have an 060 processor, you will need some additional libraries to prevent the Amiga from getting stuck in a crash loop during boot up. These libraries will also be needed to emulate an 060 CPU in WinUAE. The most common 060 cards are made by Apollo and Phase 5, so we will get both sets of libraries to cover owners of either card. On the Phase 5 page, save the file 68060 system disk to our Amiga directory. Then, from Installers Heaven, Apollo 060.dms. Back in WinUAE, open the menu again and go to the CD and Hard Drives tab. Click on Add Directory or Archive and enter PC as the device name and the volume label. Click Select Directory and choose your Amiga directory where you have been saving your files to so far. This will give us access to the PC hard disk from within the emulator. Click on Reset and then load Directory Opus again. The PC drive button will now work. Click on it to list its contents in the left window, and then get DH0/libs up in the right window and delete 68040.library. Double click on the 68060 systemdisk.lha and then go into the libs directory. From there, select the 3 files and copy them all across into the libs directory. Use the right mouse button to click on the disk arc button. This will initialize the device FF0, which is a virtual floppy disk. Type Y and press enter, then when prompted, enter again. In our Amiga files list, highlight Apollo 060.dms and click on Archive Extract. Enter FF0 as the device name and press enter, then enter again to extract the DMS to the virtual disk. In the right lister, make 2 new directories, one called Phase 5 and the other one called Apollo. Activate the left window and right click on the small S button to display the device list. Then click on FF0 and then the 68060 directory. Copy the 3 library files into the Apollo directory we just created. Now we have both sets of 060 libraries installed. The Phase 5 files are the ones that will be used by default when needed. If you have an Apollo board, move the Phase 5 library files back into the Phase 5 directory and then move the Apollo libraries into libs. In the second part of the series, we will temporarily prepare a compact flash card and copy Classic Workbench to it, then modify the install disk ready to set up large drives properly in a real Amiga. Thanks for watching part 1.